My name is Kerrie, and my goal is to inspire healing and meaning in all areas of life. In this podcast, we will dive deep into conversations. From heartbreak to freedom, we will explore different self-care modalities, learn to be the best expressions of ourselves, and to live with purpose. I'm here to offer my personal insights and to share my story in hopes that it will guide you on your path. This is Heal with Care, a journey of self-discovery. I was sitting in my car crying on the way home from work. I knew something was off. I was too exhausted to keep carrying on this way, stressed from the long commute, long work hours, constantly feeling overwhelmed and doing meaningless work. My left eye was constantly twitching and I knew something had to change. And despite what everyone around me kept saying, "This is just how life is, stick it out, other people have it worse," I had heard enough. Not wanting to be a disappointment to the world around me, I decided to put that aside, stop listening to what everyone else thought my life should look like, and choose me. I knew there had to be another way, because if there wasn't, what was the point? This wasn't living, this was torture, and I wasn't going to keep spending the rest of my life feeling this way. The moment I chose myself was the moment my healing journey began, whether I knew it or not. To me, it felt like a massive breakdown, a crumbling, if you will. Other people might call it a spiritual awakening. After seeing my doctor, I was prescribed a stress leave from work. And for the first time in a long time, I could actually focus on feeling like myself again. Now, it wasn't easy. I was still worried about my job, my finances, all of it. But allowing myself to just breathe in those moments made it one of the best times of my life. And I felt like I was actually starting to live. I did what my heart desired in the moment because I had no real agenda and there was no real rush. I allowed myself to do or be what I needed, moment by moment. I stretched my body in the morning. I went to the gym. I painted. I made home-cooked meals. I met people in the community, went to therapy. I took long walks with my dogs. Then one day, out of the blue, I started to hear my spirit guides. They kept prompting me to join a meditation group. When I finally listened, something shifted. My connection to the spiritual world began to open up in ways I never expected. I loved that first meditation class. It was exactly what I needed. So much so that I was invited back the following week. What I wasn't told was that the following week wasn't meditation. It was messages from spirit. And it was there that I received a message from a medium that changed everything. It cracked me wide open and made me believe that there was something greater out there than what I can see with my own eyes. From that moment, I had to know more. I found myself sitting in a mediumship circle with the same group of people from that meditation class. There I learned how to connect to spirit, whether that meant connecting with loved ones on the other side or reading another person's energy. I loved being mind blown every time the information I received resonated with the person I was reading for. The messages were becoming clearer, and I had found something that lit me up from the inside out. It felt like discovering a magic trick that I never thought someone like me can do, because I sure didn't think I was anything special. And somewhere in those practice circles, I kept hearing people mention an energy healing modality called Reiki. At that time, I had absolutely no interest in learning it, or so I thought. I was part of a local mediumship circle for almost a year, and then COVID happened. We moved to virtual sessions for a while, but eventually that circle started to fade away. So I decided to join an online mediumship circle for another 2 years. And it was there again that members kept mentioning Reiki. Then a friend brought it up out of the blue, and I decided to schedule a Reiki session. While my friend had a wild experience, I had the complete opposite. I left feeling happy, like overly happy, kind of like I was on cloud 9. I didn't think much of it. All I knew was that I felt so much better than how I arrived. Soon after that experience, I suddenly couldn't stop thinking about it. It was similar to the way my spirit guides had nudged me towards that meditation group, except this time it felt as though I was trying to fight with myself. I had this urge, like I really wanted to learn it, but I didn't particularly have any interest in it, yet was strangely drawn to it. Looking back at that, I feel like it was my spirit team that nudged me enough that I eventually caved and enrolled in Reiki Level 1. A few months later, I took my Reiki Level 2. By then, life was good. I had a great job, amazing coworkers, the best boss, yet something inside me was still yearning for something more, something deeper, something spiritual. I'd catch myself thinking, why can't I just be satisfied where I'm at? And just like that, everything changed. 2 weeks after completing my Reiki Level 2, my 12-year relationship ended overnight. I was not the one who made that decision, and it totally shook me to the core. I did not see this coming. I was in shock for weeks, and I was unable to process whether any of this was even real. I had never truly understood heartbreak until this very moment. When my life turned upside down in a single day, I had no idea what was coming next. I didn't know what was going to happen to me, my finances, my dogs, my home. All of it was up in the air. I didn't even know how I was going to carry on, because in those moments of grief, I made a decision that put me on a path I know I was meant to walk. Because my life was never the same after that. And somehow, out of all that pain, I ended up exactly where I was supposed to be. I had prearranged a Reiki session with someone before my heartbreak, and the timing couldn't be more perfect. I remember being fine driving to the session, which was 45 minutes away from my home, and as soon as I opened the door, I saw the Reiki practitioner, and I broke down crying. I knew in these moments that this was a safe space for me to let it all go. Something about her energy allowed me to do what I needed to do in that moment. She held space for me as I ugly cried almost the entire session. Stuffed up from crying, I got up from the table feeling like a whole new person. Something shifted inside of me. I felt somewhat stronger, like I received a confidence boost to keep going. I took a few weeks for the session to integrate, and then I began to live my life again. And part of what makes a healer is that they've lived through some of the hardest chapters of their life. Some of the best healers have gone through hell and back. People often think their past is what broke them, but it's not. It made them stronger. And because you've been through it, you carry the empathy and understanding that others need. And here's the thing. Without going through my own heartache, how could I ever understand someone else's pain? The healing journey is lifelong, because at any moment life will happen. Situations will arise and throw us into the deep end whether we're ready or not. The real question becomes, can I find my way back once I've been swung one way or the other? Can I find it in myself to return to my center? Can I lose pieces of myself along the way and gather them back up to feel whole again? Life can feel like a roller coaster, giving you the highest highs and pulling you down to the lowest lows. Sometimes through unexpected changes that can happen all at once. You never know what can happen the moment you step out your front door. Something else I noticed on this journey is that I become far more sensitive to energy, and that sensitivity made it harder to be around certain people and situations. I've always been an introvert, so alone time has never been an issue for me. But what I didn't expect is that some friendships would quietly fade away. Not out of conflict, but simply because we were growing in different directions. The things we once had in common no longer felt the same, and that's okay. It's a natural part of the process. What I did find challenging was being around people who were stuck in drama or negativity. That kind of energy would drain me completely. So I started to remove myself from those conversations and situations. When you begin to see life differently, it can be hard to sit in spaces where the only topic is complaints. You have to protect your energy, and sometimes that means excusing yourself to keep your own peace. I began realizing that we are all somehow connected to this invisible force, similar to Wi-Fi connection, but instead through our energy. The one thing I've learned through practicing Reiki for the past 4 years is that once you are attuned to the energy, it'll begin to align your energy centers, raising your vibration and releasing anything that no longer serves you, creating space for something better. But in order to do that, things need to fall away first. And when that happens, you might start to notice your life beginning to change. Like When my relationship suddenly ended 2 weeks after my Reiki level 2, as painful as that was, I was simply being redirected onto a new path. What I've come to understand is that Reiki can crack you wide open to the spirit world in ways most practitioners aren't prepared for. And I know what you might be thinking. The spirit world sounds terrifying, but don't worry, I thought the same thing. I thought of Hollywood, the scary ghosts, the haunted houses. Believe me, if I had heard this for the first time, I would have been terrified. But what I've learned is that it's not that scary. Energy communicates in a very subtle way, and having just a basic understanding of mediumship makes all the difference. While many students were showing up to mediumship circles trying to make sense of what was happening to them after Reiki, I was doing the complete opposite. I came into Reiki already understanding the foundations of mediumship, which made all the difference when I was stepping into my Reiki practice. Through offering Reiki energy healing sessions, I've witnessed some of the most remarkable things, and each experience has been completely unique to each person. I've seen tears, I've seen the body shake and vibrate as emotions are released. Sometimes it can be surprising, even a little alarming for both the client and myself. But what it has shown me is just how deeply our bodies hold on to things and how powerfully they release when they're given the space to do so. Which is why when we learn to listen to what our bodies are telling us, it can give us the most important clues about what needs to be healed. Healing begins when you look at all the parts of yourself and love yourself for exactly who you are. When you offer yourself the compassion you deserve, something shifts. The judgment you feel toward yourself and others begin to fade. Your heart begins to open up and love begins to flow. The more I do this work, the more my heart opens up and the more space I'm able to hold for others. One day I was in Savasana, corpse pose, on my yoga mat. I felt something I had never felt before. A wave of peace just washed over me and I was filled with so much love. It was an incredible feeling and I still can't put it into words. And I know it was just a glimpse of what is possible. I had been sitting with a question. If I had a cure for cancer, would you share it with the world? And in that moment of complete stillness, the answer came through me. Love. Such a simple yet powerful thing. And that is what I bring into every Reiki session. I'm not just channeling energy, I'm doing it with love. I trust that Reiki will provide exactly what each client needs in that moment, and I'm simply the channel, holding space for them to receive it. So whether love is actually the cure for cancer or not, I believe love plays a huge part in this world. Most of us walk around living in fear, stressed to the max, constantly worrying. But my experience with love is that all those fears, all those worries begin to fade into the background. And what's left is just light, just being. Nothing else in the world matters at that moment. And that was powerful enough for me. So love may or may not cure cancer, but I do believe it can move mountains. And I know it can heal so many hearts around the world. Healing is constant. We're always healing. Old wounds, new wounds, and everything in between. It's not about being perfect. It's about how we choose to move through each day, how we allow ourselves to feel, how we keep coming back to ourselves again and again. What I've noticed with myself is a kind of quiet maturity, a deeper capacity to sit with my emotions rather than run from them, more space in my heart than I ever thought possible. And I think that's what healing does over time. It makes you more you. Healing is beautiful and it's also messy. So much can happen depending on where you've been and what you've carried. But it's non-linear and it's not a destination. It's simply the journey. And it's one I have chosen to be on. I won't always get it right. I will have my ups and downs, but I know that by doing this work on myself and with others, I'm doing my part to make the world a little bit more loving, a little more whole. And honestly, that's enough. Thank you so much for listening in. I hope you found this episode insightful. If you feel called to, please share this podcast, subscribe to it, and leave a rating and review. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can email me at healwithcare@gmail.com or follow me on Instagram at healwithcare. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next episode.